So Solomon, thank you for being with us here. My question is in regards to like where you're at is essence, and I perceive that as very simple and straightforward, being in essence, and that's where you are. Where we are is there's mental, there's spiritual, there's physical, there's a lot of different dynamics in play being human. And how would you suggest on this reality integrating and creating balance amongst those three, where for myself I may not feel as physically balanced with the rest? How would you suggest bringing that together?
The biggest tool that you have at your disposal are your emotions. They are a roadmap to your physical life, your spiritual life, your mental life. As you begin to understand how your own particular emotions feel, what triggers certain emotions, what calms your emotions, as you begin to understand the dynamics between your emotional state of being and all other aspects of your entire being, you will begin to discover ways to, let's say, live a healthier life from all perspectives, from a mental perspective, from a emotional perspective, from a spiritual perspective, from a physical perspective, these being the four key ones. Many of you simply accept your emotions, which is fine. We are not proposing that you don't accept them because they are part of who you are. But it's that one line, it's part of who I am, that gets you into trouble. It's not necessarily part of who you are at all. It's part of who you've become, but it's not necessarily part of your entire being. That soul level part of you. But now you come here into this earthly reality with the challenges and the limitations that humans have created for themselves to maneuver through this experience of being a human being. So as your emotions surface, the idea is not to suppress them, to pretend that they're not actually happening, to quickly cover up a negative emotion with a positive one, thinking that one cancels the other one out. This is not how it works. You need to allow yourself to work through whatever emotion it is that is surfacing, to understand why it is surfacing, to understand that there may be a memory attached to that, that if simply brought into your awareness, you will then be able to let go through forgiveness of the feeling that that memory, that experience in that particular time has created within you. Emotions tend to resurface as they are triggered by actual experiences that bring forth a memory on some level of a stored experience within your memory bank of being a human. Now, we said this last night, and we'll say this again, as you start to, if you choose to, start looking at past experiences for the sake of healing, this is fine, and we do recommend this, but we urge you to pay attention to how long you choose to stay in a particular memory for. Simply by having the awareness of an experience, bringing it to the surface, for the point of being able to take a closer look at it from a different perspective, from a few years, a few days, a few minutes down the road, let's say, from the real-time experience. As you do this, avoid falling victim to it through the ego, through the poor me. Poor me, I've suffered from this. How dare they have done this to me? We urge you to change your mindset around that and instead offer forgiveness to the situation, understanding that the situation was merely a situation being expressed by very different perspectives, meaning that that person who may or may not have perpetrated you in some way, hurt you, lied to you, whatever the case may be, they too are living their own life from their own perspective based on their historical background, based on their cultural experience, based on a multitude of different perspectives than perhaps your own. So how can it possibly be a personal attack based on that? You may have just been the poor recipient of their bad mood. And for some people, those bad moods last a very long time. But the idea is to get past the idea of thinking that that experience needs to dictate your present moment. To avoid taking the idea of healing from the past and making that into a long and drawn out process. It doesn't necessarily need to be. But again, we stress that if it's something that you would like to take your time on to work through, then by all means do that. But it doesn't need to be that way. What we would suggest doing, and it's interesting that we're having this conversation because we talked about this last night as well, is if you are choosing to go into the past at all for any particular reason to find healing, once you extract that memory, watch it like a movie, experience it as though you are a spectator to it as opposed to the lead role in it. And feel the feelings that that character that you're watching, the you in that movie, feel how they were feeling at that time, in that situation. And allow yourself to move through the expression of that feeling without getting stuck there, just feeling it, not becoming addicted to the feeling of it, because again, this will be the ego sucking you in. Just feel it, understanding what emotion it is that you're actually feeling, and then take some time to offer forgiveness to that situation as a whole, collectively, and then recreate that scenario in the way that you would have preferred to have seen it go. This is where change takes place from a future perspective. From an energetic level, this will then become the kind of action taken, the kind of manifestation of certain situations. This will, your desire to see a situation, to transform a situation from that of a negative experience to a positive experience will perpetuate on an energetic level beyond your current understanding of that idea. But just knowing that it is that impactful from an energetic level, as a collective level, a universal level, think about the healing that you could find very quickly just from that process. Then, what you will find is from a physical level, your body will then begin to react to that healing. But that needs to be healed first. That needs to be taken care of. The slate needs to be clean. You can clean your slate with one swipe of the brush if you want to. You don't need to necessarily go back in time and look at every situation in your life that may have been hurtful. But it can be helpful in some situations. That's up for you to decide. We are here merely to offer suggestions, knowing in the end that ultimately you have the choice of how you want to find that tranquility, that serenity within your inner being. And then, when you have your clean slate, the idea is to keep it clean. There's no need to continue to sweep things under the carpet and pretend that they never happened. Just deal with them through all the tools and techniques that you know, that you will become more familiar with, that you will begin to adopt more as a regular practice in your life. As you begin to practice these new techniques, the physical changes, the mental changes, the spiritual changes all go hand in hand. Is this helpful?